Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack, and these are trying times of late. But is it a time to talk about comic books? Of course, it's time to talk about comic books because ultimately because of a meme I saw where they had Storm looking at the unrest and the struggle and the people protesting, and Cyclops saying to the person in the meme, saying to Storm in the meme, we had to go out there and help. And then Storm obviously, stuck to the screen. And I don't think people understand the X-Men at all. I know they're popular. I know that they're household names now. But at the same time, people really don't get the original X-Men. That the original X-Men still had the title of feared and hated by the world they sworn to protect, even though it was four white guys and their white mentor. Now, sorry, not if, and then obviously Jean Grey, which is to be a white woman. So with that said, obviously at that time it's the '60s. Most superheroes pretty much across the board was white, and I think now you're starting to see this, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, what am I saying? Ben Grimm is obviously, they've introduced that he's Jewish, that sort of thing. But going back to the beginning, across the board, across the board, that's just the basic what was created from Captain America, from Superman's an alien, but he basically, as Clark Kent, is a white guy across the board. So it's like, but the X-Men are different. The X-Men was dealing with the injustice. There's some similarities to, which would be some of the civil rights, but weren't necessarily going through that because there've been social unrest and discrimination, throughout time. So there could be sort of similarities to stuff that was going on with the Holocaust, and but then once the X-Men were coming out, sort of similar to the whole civil rights struggle at the same time was going on, even though they're obviously total of five white guys and one white woman. So with that said, if you look at the new X-Men, we could go to the new X-Men. There are hints of it in X-Men 104 when they fight Magneto, where the X-Men are they're trying to buy a boat, and this guy won't sell to them because he didn't know they were mutants. Which then the X-Men say, "You took our money, we're taking this boat." And then I think the Days of the Future Past, you have Magneto's story where Magneto introduces that he, survived the Holocaust, and now this was causing him to do stuff. You have God Loves Man Kills. You have Xavier being attacked by humans. There's many stories of the new X-Men, which we finally remember of them dealing with social injustice, discrimination, and the humans' insane hate and dislike of mutants. And at the same time, you also have that the many Sentinel stories. Those Sentinel stories are just them dealing with these humankind creating these mutant death hunters that would come and collect mutants and or kill them. So with that said, we don't need to get into the new X-Men because obviously they're the diverse cast. It's answering the questions. Neither of those runs were very successful. It's not until much later where the X-Men picks up steam. So it's hard to, it's easy to say, well, the new X-Men did answer the other part of the X-Men we needed to know. And no, it didn't. It took some time for it to gain its ground. Saying, the originals held it for a while. The new X-Men struggled, sold a lot worse than the new X-Men until it finally started picking up. So with that said, let's go to the original X-Men because they set up the stage for dealing with mutants struggling with humankind. It's not Magneto. Magneto comes at 150, where they establish his new history, which we call a retcon. So, with that said, and let's go to some scenes from the original X-Men. So I don't think many people know these stories. So if we look here, it's basically the X-Men. We have Hank McCoy, Iceman, and Angel, basically hanging out watching TV. But Angel has noticed something. And then this guy, he's leaping, he's winning all the events. All the events he's totally winning. And what happens? The crowd goes insane at the bottom. So when the X-Men see that, obviously it's a fellow mutant. So what did the originals do? And this is something you don't really see too much in the new X-Men outside of X-Men helping Kitty Pryde. We see the original X-Men, that's what they used to go out and do. Either help New Mutants or, they would go out and help and take them in, or those mutants would turn into be supervillains. So after seeing this, they go out immediately. This guy's in trouble, it's surrounded. Angel gets him out of there. Beast, pushes some of the humans away. They're trying to block off. They're doing all this stuff. But this is just an angry mob trying to get this mutant, feeling that they were kind of cheated because he used his tricks to win the triathlon. So obviously they don't know ultimately that this is the Toad, but ultimately it's still a mutant that is being and this is a trick to sort of bring you in because they know the X-Men are going to help mutants out. This is a key thing to remember, that the humans really would lose it when they find a mutant in their midst. And it would be almost akin to people passing, whether it be light-skinned Black people or Jewish people, that sort of thing. This is very much a finding out, oh no, this is someone, this is what the X-Men really plays. Because a lot of people talk about, oh, these superheroes and these aren't superheroes. There's other things that happen in the same time that would cause mutants to fall from favor. So at times the X-Men were, positive group, and then you'll see as we go through this, the X-Men are going to go through points where people totally dislike them. So, and then here, Beast sees someone in trouble. He's like, look, I'm tossing out my secret identity. I'm going to help that. And they see it and they're like, uh-oh, he's a mutant. And then, of course, they figure out who it is. Oh, this is the Beast, but he's been hiding in our midst. This is their struggle. So, of course, the Beast goes up the building, saves the kid. This, that, and the other. They go down, but the people are like, they just start to lose it. And then they think the mutant's going to take over the world. And they taken in Magneto's sentiment from X-Men #1. And then the X-Men, of course, barely make it out. They barely get out of there. And this, of course, leads to a moment where Beast kind of left the X-Men. But you see these guys, once they're found out outside of costume, they kind of... Here is a later issue where Cyclops tries to go out, and here we go. He runs into some police. And they like, hey, buddy, they're like, why are you wearing these dark glasses? And he's kind of getting harassed by these police, and he's not saying anything. He just asked them a question, and they basically start interrogating them, and it goes south pretty quickly. They want the glasses off, and they won't take nothing less. Of course, that leads to this optic blast going, and then, of course, they pull out the gun. Luckily, Cyclops takes the gun out, and you'll see some more of this happening with the original X-Men a lot. So then, of course, Beast is getting chased by the police. They want to talk to him, and then next thing you know, he's like, nope, I'm out of here. They're saying they don't want to hurt him, but he says, I should hope not. So then, this is the other point, that when the X-Men fall from favor, because Bolivar Trask, he actually puts out in the newspaper, Mutant Menace. And this is the thing you start seeing come up, where people start really feeling, the whole world starts, or at least the whole nation starts to feel that the mutants are bad. So as we keep going, then you see, Professor Xavier is like, it's finally begun. The one thing I've always feared, a witch hunt for mutants. And then they almost come to a hypothetical issue that they would have. So obviously Xavier is like, I gotta deal with this head on. And that leads to a Sentinel story. But see this, the propaganda against mutants, and like talking about this the superior aspect that Magneto brought up in the comic books. So in issue 1. So then while this is going on, it tells you how, Beast's powers became evident. And the next thing you know, people are trying to question him about his powers. So then obviously, this is one of those things where, comes into ridicule and worry, and he obviously goes, Xavier's going to train him. So as we go along, we have another scene where the X-Men have been framed. And then, of course, the people are like, nope, even though Cyclops was saving the day, they like, they're like, they said, like, they look at Cyclops as the enemy too, because the Blob and I think the Beast, no, the Blob and Eunice, the Untouchable, have stolen stuff, and Cyclops stops them. But I said, listen to them, do they think that human beings are just sport for mutants? And then next thing you know, they're like, even the woman is going after them. Look, he's running away, Then, of course, he's trying not to hurt them. And then, of course, he gets labeled as a coward. But then even at the same time, they're in a situation where they're trying to help people, and then the crowd just starts losing it and shooting at them and stuff like that. So it keeps going. And then this story, later in the story, basically a mob, like a posse comes after the X-Men. They're like, oh, they get the guns and they go on after the X-Men. So this is all happening in the original run, which has been totally forgotten. So here, the people in town are shooting at Angel. It's open season on mutants again, and then there's even a reward after them. And then the X-Men have to at least stop these humans from trying to kill them. And then you see them, just dispatch all the humans, and one's trying to go after Iceman. This is the first time Iceman has died almost died. So then the X-Men stop this guy. And as we keep going on, here's another story where it's a complicated plot. But the X-Men are kind of framed by Count Nefaria. And Xavier is the leading person, Charles Xavier, leading person on mutants, and he's known to be friends of the X-Men. They don't know that he's their mentor. He goes a lot to these event things where the X-Men have kind of been framed, and tries to talk to the humans, because that's ultimately his goal. His goal isn't to be separate. His goal is to work with the humans, and at the same time, next thing you know, this complicated plot by Count Nefaria is keeping the X-Men under, saw as the bad guys. So Xavier tries to do some other things, because the police, they're just like, this can't happen. Obviously, the X-Men have been forced to steal this thing. But then, then the X-Men kind of stopped them from doing that. But so as they go along, they're still being attacked. Because this one, they've been framed. So, of course, this is more in line with what would happen if they were framed. And then next time, this guy's had it. He said the X-Men will be shot on sight. So Xavier decides to go. They have a little fight with the army. But that's sort of imagery. This is the thing. This sort of imagery that we would see in any sort of social unrest, and is in the X-Men. Even though, because you look at it and it's not done by, it's not gorgeously drawn by someone that we're a big fan of. It's done by Warner Roth, who I was a fan of as a kid, very much so. So this was a lot of fun for me. I think there's some other artists on the original X-Men, which is Ross Andrew did 2 issues, Steranko, obviously Neil Adams, and obviously Kirby. There's a couple other artists, I think. But I think those are the main ones. I think one of, what's his name? Can't remember. There's one other artist that I can't remember right now. So as we keep going along, this is what happened. Cyclops, this is the other horror of being Cyclops. I'm going to lead more to him later, right? This is going to be big for us, because this is the thing that's been forgotten for years with Cyclops. That basically, if your glasses fall off, he basically could kill someone. And they did that in the movie. They did try to show that. But one of the things is, that happens. Hey, I'm just reading this paper. Someone bumps into him. Well, he shouldn't be walking and reading the paper. But this is a comic book, so you need some sort of action to happen. So that happens, and then they said, oh, it must be one of those mutants. And then he says, a mutie. I'm not sure this is the first time mutie that sort of slur has been put out. But see, you got even a mutant slur term. So then they helped the police being attacked, and it was just something that was just an honest mistake, and understanding that Cyclops is living with his eye beams that are uncontrollable, and he's trying to not be, harm. And this is ultimately one of the reasons why he's so so withdrawn. So as we go along, it's small for some reason. Yes, instead of fighting them by the mistake, he just runs away, which is a smart thing to do. He said, I have no time to stop and reason with them. I got to get back to the others fast. So as you go along, then we get some hyper stuff. We get some hyper cool stuff from Neil Adams, and then we have the X-Men being, being assumed to be criminal because of Larry Trask, Boulder Trask's son, and the police come. And the next thing you know, they got their guns out. The guns are drawn. Iceman stops them, but at the same time, the cop throws a chair, and the two X-Men are right next to the window. Now, there are a multitude of ways they could have stopped this, but they shouldn't stop this because it's so visual what happens. And then, of course, Beast gets knocked out the window, and he almost dies. But we're gonna leave that for some other story. Let's see what happens with this whole mutant hysteria. What could happen with these X-Men that haven't done anything, haven't shown you anything outside of Cyclops running into that guy. Nothing actually criminal that's happening. So, with that said, that's one thing. Now, I'm going to also show you another bit that's, I think, that's very important to remember with the X-Men too, because when you look at the X-Men, one of the things that kind of lost is a lot of their origins were very much were done in such a way that that a lot of their origins were reused for a lot of origins for the new X-Men. A lot of their stories, I think, of them being on the run, which people have forgotten, it's kind of been fodder for the other stories. So with that said, I'm going to go to Roy Thomas's Origins of the X-Men, and there's going to be one other bit with Angel after this. So in this, basically, I think this will be Xavier's files. And I wish they would reprint this in one volume. But then you see the government trying to deal with this mutant hysteria. But this is going to lead to something. This is so-called mutant menace. So with that said, we have Xavier who's deciding, he has to leave for Washington at once, goes out there, he uses his power to get through, does all this, and then we see Cyclops, someone's going to get hurt. And Cyclops is like, I'm here, I can help. He disintegrated the thing, but then the people start to lose it. That's the scene that we saw earlier. And then it said, this gets uncanny. Something about the thought of mutants, of other normal human beings being born with extra power. That drives mankind to distrust, fear, and even hatred. So then next thing you know, Xavier gets in there, and hearing them being, talking about it not being negative, he realizes that he can talk to them, and he comes through. So with that said, they're thinking that he's going to, they're worried, obviously, the government office, but then Xavier talks it out with them, and this is going to be a relationship that has been with the X-Men for a long time. So then, obviously, since that happened and the people are going crazy, Cyclops has one of the strongest images of Cyclops in just regular attire by Werner Roth. It's one of my favorite issues, so favorite backup stories. look at the scene where the people are going after him, and he's like, he's just trying to hide it. He's not trying to fight people. And then he's on the run. He's can't go back to the orphanage, as he said. And, so he's been an orphan all his life, struggling with these I-beams. We don't know how he got the glasses, but, Xavier's basically like, I'm going to help this kid out, right? So then he's on the run, hanging out with these people. He's not trying to do anything. When the police come, they're like, they want the glasses off. So this is like, they can't take off the shades. They're like, let me see it. And the next thing you know, it all goes awry. The police are all running off, at least Cyclops to run. So I don't think there's any more unrest in this story. So I'm just going to quickly go through and about this first adventure with Cyclops, which leads Cyclops to become a hero and multitude of cool stuff. And this is something I was trying to do the origin, if you actually have Moira McTaggart in the story, but keep going. So the Iceman, now this scene is another scene that's been used in, I think in Magneto's origin. Because in Magneto's origin, he went crazy with power, and then his girlfriend saw that, or the mother of his children saw that, and she ran off. And I think in what is that story? Since Claremont had introduced that Magneto was a survivor of the Holocaust. He mentions Auschwitz. I think Bill Mantlo in the Vision and Scarlet Witch, Vision and Scarlet Witch's miniseries. They have a scene where Magneto uses his power, and they say his wife saw that and went running. It's meaning she was afraid of mutants. Whereas in the Avengers, it says, my husband is going mad with power. It wasn't that he had some mad powers, that he'd gone mad with power. And that's the Magneto we saw that's in the first issue of the X-Men. So that's a definite retcon. So in this one, obviously, Bobby Drake, Iceman, is with his girlfriend. And next, he just gets attacked by these knuckleheads. So while he's in there, they're taking away his girl. Like, they decided that they're taking away his girl. He's just some little punk. So then what does he do? He has to use his ice power to stop him, because he doesn't know what they're going to do to her. And of course, they run away, but then the girl runs away too. And that's been done twice in the classic X-Men. One with Magneto and one with Colossus. So I guess it's a part of Marvel, so you could take whatever you want, but this is the top book. There's no need to borrow from the original X-Men, which, most people think are lame, right? So in there, of course, after they use his power, a mob comes, they come attack him, they try to grab him, but then he obviously uses his ice power. You capture him, you put him in jail, and what happens? Enter Cyclops. Now Cyclops is like, hey, we got to get out of here. We'll let next thing we say, hey, that's this self-defense. Then of course another mob is coming. They're like, next thing you know, what is it? And then of course it's the X-Men, so of course they get into a little fight. They hear all this stuff going on. I think they just think it's an escape. So they take the law in their own hands. People are following them, shooting at them, of course. Cyclops stops them from shooting, and then they go back to fighting. And then, of course, they get stopped and held at gunpoint. Then the X-Men are now they held at gunpoint. And they're about to think about they're going to lynch these guys. Look at that. Everything is up there. They got the rope and all at the same time. They said, no one's going to do that. But they kind of stop them, but they still have them. Well, they take him away. So they take him away, and the next thing they're going to string up the X-Men. And They, of course, before they get the noose on, they start fighting back against the angry mob, people shooting at them, they're on the run. And then, of course, Xavier took care of them, and then he says goodbyes to his family. Then this last bit is a later book, which was Angel, his family doctor. He basically is in cahoots with a villain who basically didn't he struggled with a mutant being born in the Worthington family, and this is the person that Angel had confided in and helped him out, helped him hide his wings from the family and stuff like that. But in actuality, he was thinking someone of the Worthington stature couldn't have a mutant. And this is back in the day when mutants weren't just born with it. Your family had to be involved in the atomic age. So ultimately, that's it. There's many more. I mean, I guess I could do another part where we get into the new X-Men and stuff like that. But this is just to show you there's many points in there where the original X-Men struggle with being feared and hated by the world they were sworn to protect. So when you go over there and you immediately think, oh, okay, the the original X-Men will be on the side of the cops, and then the new X-Men would be on the side of the people. The original, if you go with the actual suspension of disbelief, is that everybody hates the X-Men. Chris Claremont has done it. That all the people hate and they struggle with mutants. Some people don't like them, but ultimately that's how the world goes terribly bad in the days of future past. If they decide that mutants or who is it, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants basically kill an important person, and that's looked at as all mutants. And that's the same with any sort of struggle, is that taking one thing, one person, and making it multiple. So I guess that's it, but it's just giving you a little history of some of the subplots that were going in the X-Men, of the X-Men being feared and hated by the world they're sworn to protect. Thank you.